The state pension age in the UK is now 67, but right now, tens of thousands of ordinary Brits, not city workers, not lottery winners, are retiring in their 40s and 50s, not because they earned more, because they knew a number. That number is different depending on when you want to stop working. Retire at 40 and you need significantly more than retiring at 55. But here's what most videos on this topic get wrong. They give you a generic figure without accounting for UK tax, the state pension gap, inflation, or the difference between a SIPP and an ISA in drawdown. In this video, I'm going to give you the honest retirement number at 40, 45, 50, and 55, built on real UK figures. By the end, you'll know your exact target. Let's get into it. Before we get to the numbers, we need to agree on what early retirement actually means in the UK context, because it's not what most people assume. In the UK, early retirement typically means stopping full-time work before the state pension age of 67, but there are three distinct phases you need to plan for. Phase 1, the gap years, from your retirement date until you can access your private pension. Currently, you can access a SIPP at 57, rising from 55 in 2028. So if you retire at 45, you have a 12-year gap where your pension is locked away. Phase 2, pension drawdown. From 57 onwards, you can draw from your SIPP. This changes your income picture significantly and reduces the portfolio you need to maintain. Phase 3, state pension. From age 67, the full new state pension, currently £11,502 a year, kicks in. This is essentially a guaranteed income floor that dramatically reduces how much your portfolio needs to generate. Understanding these three phases is the reason most early retirement calculators in the UK are wrong. They treat it as one continuous period. The real math splits it into three, and your target number is completely different once you do. To calculate your retirement number, we're going to use a modified version of the 4% rule, adjusted for UK tax reality and the state pension benefit. The 4% rule says multiply your annual spending by 25, and that's the portfolio you need. At a 4% annual withdrawal rate, a well-diversified portfolio has historically lasted 30 years. But for early retirement in the UK, potentially 40 or 50 years, we'll use 3.5%, which gives us a multiplier of roughly 28.5. For this video, we're going to assume a comfortable retirement spend of £30,000 a year in today's money. That's above the UK average, but below what most people in the south of England would consider truly comfortable. I'll show you how to adjust the figures for your own number at the end. We're also going to assume your money is split between an ISA and a SIPP, which is the most tax-efficient structure for early retirement in the UK. ISA covers the gap years tax-free. SIPP takes over from 57 with 25% tax-free cash available. State pension fills the floor from 67.
Let's start with the earliest scenario, retiring at 40. This is the most demanding mathematically, and it's where most people's estimates fall shortest. If you retire at 40, you have a 17-year gap before you can access your SIP at 57. That means your ISA and any other accessible investments need to cover all your living costs for 17 years with no pension top-up. From 57, your SIP kicks in. From 67, the state pension adds $11,502 a year. To retire at 40 on $30,000 a year, assuming 3.5% inflation-adjusted returns, you need a total portfolio of approximately $750,000 to $850,000. Of that, roughly $300,000 to $350,000 should be in accessible ISA or general investment accounts to bridge to 57. The remainder can sit in your SIP, compounding until you access it. Now retiring at 45. Your SIP gap closes to 12 years, which meaningfully reduces the ISA bridge you need. The state pension is now only 22 years away rather than 27. Your total portfolio target at 45 drops to approximately $600,000 to $700,000, with a similar ISA bridge requirement of around $220,000 to $270,000. The difference between retiring at 40 versus 45 is roughly $150,000 in total portfolio, but it's 5 more years of compounding, which for most people on a good salary is the most productive earning period of their career. That's why 45 is the sweet spot many serious FIRE followers in the UK aim for. Moving to 50. At this age, your SIP gap is just 7 years, short enough that your ISA bridge becomes much more manageable. You're also 17 years from the state pension, which means the guaranteed income floor arrives at a point in your retirement where spending typically starts to fall naturally anyway. To retire at 50 on $30,000 a year, your total portfolio target is approximately $500,000 to $580,000, of which only around $120,000 to $150,000 needs to be accessible outside a pension. This is the number that changes the most when people factor in the state pension properly. Most people overestimate what they need at 55 because they forget the state pension arrives just 12 years later and covers nearly 40% of a moderate retirement income. Now, here's the section that changes everything, and the reason I said earlier that most early retirement calculators in the UK are wrong. Most people calculate their retirement number based on gross income replacement. They see $30,000 a year and multiply by 25 and get $750,000, and then they spend the next 20 years trying to hit that number in their pension alone. That's a mistake, for 2 reasons. First, the state pension. If you retire at 50 and the state pension pays $11,502 from age 67, that's effectively like having $328,629 worth of additional pension pot arrive at 67, because $11,502 divided by 3.5% equals that figure. You do not need to self-fund that portion, but nobody accounts for this when they set their savings target. Second, tax efficiency in drawdown. Money inside an SIP is incredibly tax efficient to withdraw in retirement. You can take 25% tax-free, and the rest is taxed as income. But in early retirement, if you have no other income, the first $12,570 is free of income tax due to the personal allowance. A couple can take up to $25,140 from their SIPs with zero income tax. Many people on $30,000 a year in retirement pay almost no tax at all if they've structured their portfolio correctly. Factor in both of these things, and your actual portfolio target could be 15 to 25% lower than the headline numbers I gave you earlier if you've structured things correctly.
Knowing your target is one thing. Knowing how to reach it is another. Let's run the numbers on how long it takes to reach each retirement milestone at 3 common UK salary levels. We'll assume you're starting from zero, no existing savings, and investing 20% of your take-home pay every month into a combination of SIPP and ISA. We'll assume a 7% annual return before inflation, 3.5% after. These are conservative long-run averages for a globally diversified index fund portfolio. On a £40,000 salary, take-home is roughly £2,600 a month. Saving 20% gives you £520 a month invested. At 7% growth, you reach £400,000, the retire at 55 target, in approximately 26 years. Starting at 29, you retire at 55. It works. On a £60,000 salary, take-home is roughly £3,500 a month. Saving 20% gives you £700. But, and this is critical, on £60,000, you should also be maximizing salary sacrifice. Doing so adds another £200 to £300 equivalent in pension contributions with zero extra cost to you, because the national insurance saving effectively funds part of the pension. At this salary, you can realistically target retiring at 50. you reach £500,000 in approximately 22 to 24 years. Starting at 27, you retire at 50 or 51. On a £90,000 salary, and remember the £100,000 trap here means salary sacrifice is not optional, it's essential. Take home after the effective 60% marginal rate above £100,000 is brutal. Maximizing pension contributions to bring income below £100,000 is the single highest return financial move available to you. Saving aggressively at this level, you can realistically target the retire at 45 number within 15 to 18 years. I promised earlier I'd cover the ISA and SIPP split because this is where most early retirees in the UK make a costly mistake. The mistake is putting everything into a SIPP because the tax relief is attractive, and then realizing at 50 that all your money is locked away until 57. You have a large pension, but nothing to live on for 7 years. The bridge is missing. The correct approach is to work backwards from your retirement date. Calculate how much you need outside the pension to cover the gap years. That amount, plus a buffer, should be built up in your stocks and shares ISA. Everything above that target can go into your SIPP to maximize the tax relief. As a rough rule of thumb, your ISA target for gap bridging is your annual spend multiplied by the number of years between your retirement date and age 57. So retiring at 50 on £30,000 a year, 7 years times £30,000 equals £210,000 in your ISA. That's your minimum accessible pot before you pull the trigger. Then your SIPP covers everything from 57 onwards. Let's bring it all together. To retire early in the UK on £30,000 a year in today's money, here are the honest numbers. Retire at 40, you need approximately £750,000 to £850,000 total. Retire at 45, £600,000 to £700,000. Retire at 50, £500,000 to £580,000. Retire at 55, £380,000 to £440,000. These figures drop by 15 to 25% if you factor in the state pension properly and structure your ISA and SIPP drawdown for maximum tax efficiency. Getting that structure right could be worth decades of extra contributions or years off your working life. To adjust for your own spending level, divide your target annual income by £30,000 and multiply all these figures by that number. Spending £20,000 a year, multiply by 0.67. Spending £45,000, multiply by 1.5. If this video gave you your number, or at least a much clearer target than you had before, subscribe to Money Milestones UK. Every video on this channel is built around the specific money milestones that actually change your financial life in Britain. The next video is about the pension numbers every UK worker should have at 30, 40, and 50, and how to close the gap if you're behind. I'll see you there.